There's a particular kind of pain that comes from pricing out a new computer these days. You start with good intentions. Maybe you just want to upgrade your graphics card or replace an aging laptop. And before long, you're staring at a price tag that looks less like consumer electronics and more like a cheap used car. And to be fair, some of the frustration is completely justified. Modern hardware prices, especially at the high end, have climbed hard over the last few years and months. GPUs in particular have become expensive enough that people joke about needing financing just to play video games at ultra settings. But I think there's another side to this discussion that gets lost sometimes, and I suspect this might be an unpopular take. And that's the fact that expensive computer hardware is actually pretty normal historically. What may have been unusual was the long stretch where computing kept getting dramatically better, while prices stayed relatively stable. If you go back to the early days of personal computing, computers were not everyday appliances. They were decidedly luxury items. Take the Apple Lisa from 1983. It launched at just under $10,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $30,000 today. $30,000. For a machine with a processor slower than what's probably inside your microwave. And Apple wasn't alone. IBM's PC-AT systems in the mid-1980s could easily cost the modern equivalent of $12,000 to $18,000, depending on configuration. These were serious business machines, and businesses often treated them like capital expenditure rather than consumer products. Even affordable home computers weren't exactly cheap. The Commodore 64 launched at around $600 in 1982. In today's money, that's close to $2,000. And that bought you a beige keyboard-shaped computer that connected to your television and loaded games from a cassette tape, if you were really patient. By the early 1990s, computers had become more capable, but prices were still pretty intense. A powerful multimedia PC or Macintosh system could absolutely run several $1,000s before you added things like monitors, printers, speakers, or software. A really nice Pentium PC in 1995 could easily land in the $5,000 to $8,000 range in modern money. And here's the important part. People expected this. Back then, computers were seen as specialized, expensive technology. Powerful hardware cost serious money because, well, it always had. Then something changed. From roughly the late 1990s through the 2010s, consumers experienced what was honestly kind of a golden age for computing hardware. Manufacturing scaled up globally. Components became cheaper to produce, competition increased, and Moore's Law kept delivering massive performance jumps. For a long time, you could buy a mid-range computer every few years and feel that you were getting something dramatically faster without spending dramatically more money. We got used to that. And now we're running into the reality that maybe that period was the exception, not the rule. Today's high-end processors and GPUs are engineering monsters compared to the hardware of even 15 years ago. The factories that make advanced chips cost tens of billions of dollars. Power requirements are up, cooling requirements are up, and now AI companies are competing with gamers and creators for the same hardware supply. A modern flagship graphics card isn't just a gaming device anymore. It's also an AI accelerator, a workstation component, and in some cases, basically industrial compute hardware wearing RGB lighting. That doesn't mean consumers are wrong to feel frustrated. I certainly do. The thought of spending $2,000 or more on a graphics card is painful. But perspective matters too. A modern mid-range PC can do things that would have looked like science fiction in 1982. Real-time video editing, global communication, music production, 3D rendering, AI image generation, entire libraries of games and media instantly accessible. And it can do all of that on hardware that, historically speaking, is still relatively attainable compared to what comparable computer power used to cost. Maybe the bigger story here is not that computers suddenly became expensive again. It's that we lived through a strange and unusually consumer-friendly era where technology improved at an incredible pace while staying comparatively affordable. Now supply chains, manufacturing costs, and AI demand are putting pressure on that system, and we consumers are feeling the pinch in real time. So yes, hardware prices today can absolutely be ridiculous. But historically, well, computers have almost always been expensive. Hey, if you got something out of this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And remember, be excellent to each other.